I'm Lily, 27 years old, balancing being a wife and an office worker with a stable job. My husband, Ethan, is also 27. He loves his mom way too much, and his mom, Karen, loves to make my life difficult. Even though we've had our share of problems, Ethan and I just celebrated our second wedding anniversary. I'm proud of how much I've put up with, and work has become my way to relax. Because of my hard work, I've been promoted multiple times, which is rare for a woman in my position. Right now, I'm on a business trip, traveling around Europe for work. I'm in the middle of an important meeting when something unexpected happens. The meeting had just started when my phone, which was on silent, started vibrating. I thought it might be an emergency because there were 2 missed calls. I checked my phone under the table, and it was from Karen. What's going on? I hope nothing bad has happened, I thought, surprised. I quickly decided to call her back. Just as I moved away from the table, my phone rang again. It was Karen. Hello, Lily. Where are you right now? She asked. I answered, but her voice sounded irritated. Maybe I shouldn't have picked up this call, I thought to myself. Hello, Karen. How are you? Is there something urgent? I asked. Why aren't you answering me? I asked where you are, Lily, she snapped. I was getting annoyed, but since I was in an important meeting, I didn't want to argue. I answered calmly, sorry, didn't Ethan tell you? I'm in a meeting for work. Can I call you back when I'm done? Karen replied coldly, of course Ethan told me. What kind of wife leaves her husband and home? You need to come back right now. I couldn't believe how unreasonable she was being. I'm sorry, Karen, but I'm in the middle of an important meeting, I said, trying to explain. She interrupted me. You think you're so important, just being Ethan's wife. I don't care about your work. Come home right now. Today's a special day. Do you understand? Today's a special day? I asked, confused. She didn't want to explain, so I asked again, why is today so important? We're celebrating my 60th birthday today, Karen said, sounding proud. Wait, wasn't her birthday supposed to be at the end of the month? I was surprised it was today, especially with my business trip. Ethan and I had already arranged a dinner for her birthday, but now she was acting like this. I was getting tired of Karen's attitude. It felt like every year she became more and more mean, even when she knew I was busy with work. I decided to be firm with her. Like I said, I'm on a business trip. I can't come home. Karen laughed sarcastically. That's funny, because I called Ethan, and he said he was taking the day off for me. All the relatives are coming, everyone except you, Lily, always working. You're so cold. What kind of wife doesn't care about her husband's parents? I didn't want to listen to any more of her sarcastic remarks. I had to focus on my meeting, so I said firmly, I'm sorry, but I can't come to your birthday celebration, no matter what you say. There was a pause, then Karen sighed and said, fine, I won't consider you family anymore. Don't bother coming back. It's a divorce. Ethan deserves someone better than you. She threw those cruel words at me all at once, without any pause. I was furious and upset by what Karen had said, but I didn't want to keep arguing with her on the phone. I said, fine, okay. I'll talk to you when I get home. But I have to go now. What's with that attitude? I told you not to come back. I'll talk to Ethan myself, she snapped before hanging up. Feeling drained from dealing with my mother-in-law, I returned to my meeting, letting out a sigh. After 2 days of meetings, I was finally on my way home. I was so angry and frustrated with Karen that I barely remembered how I got back. When I opened the front door and called out, I heard, welcome back. It was Ethan's voice, sounding worn out. I took off my heels and walked straight to the living room, leaving my suitcase by the door. There, I saw a bunch of cardboard boxes, and Ethan was taping them up, looking sweaty. What are the boxes for? I asked. Ethan said they were all my things. I found out that Karen had actually gone ahead with her 60th birthday celebration the day she called me, without me there. She told everyone I had ignored her birthday and treated her poorly on the phone. She even told the relatives that she was going to make Ethan divorce me and send me back to my parents because I was a terrible wife. This sounded exactly like something Karen would do. I turned to Ethan and asked, so what happened? Did your mom tell you to divorce me, and you went along with it? No, I didn't exactly agree to it, Ethan mumbled. But she told me to pack your things, and I didn't have much of a choice. What was I supposed to do? Wait, so you didn't argue with her? Are you really okay with the idea of a divorce? I asked, my anger building. Ethan explained that his dad, Thomas, had told him, if Karen's upset, it'll be hard for all of us, so you better listen to her. So Ethan just obeyed his mom. What in the world was going on? How could he accept a divorce so easily? What's wrong with his family? His dad listens to his wife, and Ethan just does whatever his mom says. No one ever seemed to have my back. I was speechless, trying to process everything Ethan had said. He looked at me with pleading eyes and said, "What my mom says is final. This is just temporary, okay? Once she calms down, it'll all blow over. This divorce isn't real. It's just for now. I'll come to you when things cool off." He looked at me like he was begging. I wished he'd show that same look to his mother. How could a grown man like Ethan be so terrified of his mom? Oh my gosh, there's no way to save you now. I almost felt disgusted with myself, wondering what made me marry him in the first place. But then I thought, maybe this is a good opportunity for me to rethink things. Even if I stayed with Ethan, Karen would keep making my life miserable, always pushing me to get a divorce. Maybe it was actually a lucky break to get a divorce from Ethan without too much hassle. I earn enough money to support myself. Even if I have to live alone, I'll be fine. Suddenly, it felt like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I looked at Ethan and said, "Fine then, yes, let's get a divorce." As soon as I said that, I called Karen. After 3 tries, she finally answered. "Hello," Karen said. I responded, "As you wish, we're getting a divorce." Karen, sounding like she had been waiting for me to say that, replied happily, "Yes. Please leave. Get out of Ethan's house. You've finally realized you're not good enough for him, huh? I'm so relieved. Don't worry, I'll find Ethan a pretty, obedient wife this time. Don't worry, I'll take care of him until he finds someone new." After throwing out all her sarcastic comments, I said calmly, "Don't misunderstand me, Karen." She was in too good of a mood to care and responded, "You're a sore loser. Whatever. Oh, by the way, I've already picked up the divorce papers from the city office and gave them to Ethan. Don't forget to sign them." With that, she hung up without even saying goodbye. Ethan, who had been listening to the whole conversation, looked relieved. Was he really this stupid? "By the way, Ethan, does your mom know that you're a full-time house husband?" I asked. Ethan replied, "How could I tell her that? My mom's obsessed with the fact that I work for a big company." He spoke to me in a defensive tone. Oh, that makes sense. I should have figured it out by the way he acts, I thought. Ethan always wears old, comfy clothes at home, but when he meets Karen, he puts on a suit. He also pretends he's at work when Karen calls, making her think he's busy at the office. At her birthday party, Karen proudly said that Ethan, being such a great son, took time off from work just to attend. She even said he would easily find a more obedient, pretty wife than me. I knew the truth would come out after the divorce. But Karen, who thought her son could do no wrong, would never hear anything from Ethan that would disappoint her. In reality, Ethan had quit his job about a year ago. The elite son Karen was so proud of was now unemployed, a full-time house husband. Ethan quit because of a huge mistake at work that led to a written apology, a demotion, and a pay cut. He probably never told Karen about that. It seemed like Ethan was still reeling from the shock of falling off the elite path. Karen had spoiled him so much that he was weak and fragile. When Ethan had to write an apology for his mistake, he was so anxious he couldn't even bring himself to go to the office. He couldn't leave the house, let alone work. At first, Ethan would call in to report his absences and ask for paid time off, but eventually, he stopped calling and his unauthorized absences increased. Then, he got fired from his job. Now, it seemed that Ethan had no intention of finding another job and was relying completely on my income. He still hadn't told Karen about this because he knew she'd be furious if she found out. I was a little curious about how Karen would react when she found out the truth after I left. I could only imagine how shocked she'd be, maybe even to the point of a stroke. But honestly, that wasn't my problem anymore. Ethan told me, "This is just to cover up things with my mom, okay?" He handed me the divorce papers, which I signed and submitted right away. Then, I signed a contract for my new apartment and moved in as soon as I could. A month later, I got a call from Karen, my ex-mother-in-law, someone I thought I'd completely cut ties with. I wondered why she was calling, but I answered anyway. "What do you want now? Aren't you happy to get rid of me?" I answered sarcastically. She replied, "Well, you're still the same, just listen to me." Karen then started talking to me in the same tone she always did, but this time it was about Ethan. After I left, Karen had been going to Ethan's apartment to help with the housework, but every time she went over, Ethan was just lying around in his room with no sign of him going to work. It didn't seem like he was sick, so she asked if I knew what was going on. I barely held back a laugh and said, I see." I responded casually, "Well, of course, Ethan is like that. He doesn't want to work ever again." As if she'd forgotten she was the one who'd kicked me out, Karen asked, "Lily, can you do something about it?" "Why should I? You didn't want me in your family, and you kicked me out," I said, frustrated. She was so selfish, only asking for help when it suited her after all the mistreatment I had endured. Then Karen said, "Well, I was wondering if you said something to Ethan before you left." I couldn't believe she was trying to make me the villain. Doesn't she see the problem with her son, not me? I'm the one who was hurt, you know, I replied. She dismissed me. Oh really? You only married Ethan for his money, didn't you? So why would a divorce hurt you? Karen looked at me like I had married Ethan for his wealth. What a joke. I was the one who financially supported Ethan during our marriage. I was the one who provided for everything. To be honest, I couldn't live the way I wanted because of Ethan. I was okay with the divorce, but should I ask Ethan for alimony? Karen couldn't believe what I said. How dare you make something like that up, Lily? You just forgot to ask for alimony, didn't you? Ethan has a higher income and status than you. Don't be so unreasonable. If it's just about money, Eric can pay whatever you want. After all, Ethan works for a major company. Karen responded with some crazy argument. Maybe Ethan hadn't told her the truth yet. I didn't want to be the one to spill the details, but I thought it might be a good opportunity to get back at her, so I decided to tell her. Your proud son's a full-time house husband now. He quit his job a long time ago. What? You're lying? As expected, Karen couldn't believe me. She raised her voice so loudly that I almost had to pull the phone away from my ear. I said, "Why don't you check with the company? You'll find out who's telling the truth." Karen was silent for a moment. Well then, if that's true, how are we going to live? I can't take care of my son with just my pension, and no one will marry him because he's unemployed. What are we going to do? Her voice sounded much more worried now, and I couldn't help but smile. What are you going to do? I asked. Karen was quiet again for a while, muttering to someone beside her. Then she said, "Lily, please come home." I was confused by her sudden change of tone, but I answered, "No, we're already divorced. I wouldn't come back to your family, no matter what." I could hear some commotion in the background. It sounded like Ethan was nearby. "I told you I'd come get you back when things cool down," I heard Ethan say. "Yeah, you could come back to Ethan," Karen said. "What are you talking about? No way, I wouldn't do that for the world. Don't joke about it," I replied firmly. "Thank you, seriously," I added, making sure to remind her that I had no regrets. I made it clear that I never wanted to be involved with someone like Ethan, who still clung to his mother, or deal with another toxic mother-in-law. "I did what you told me to do, Karen. Can you stop changing your mind so much? But honestly, you've always talked back to me with that nonchalant attitude, no matter what I said. I didn't think you'd actually go through with the divorce." It seemed like Karen didn't think I would be this firm in my decision. I responded to her bitter excuse. "Well, I was just putting up with it. Besides, Ethan packed up my stuff and kicked me out without even asking me." I couldn't hold back my anger anymore and told her everything she had done to me. "You see, that was just a prank." "Yes, it was just a prank." When Karen tried to brush everything off like that, I couldn't help but say, "A prank, huh? I think it's even worse than that." I was so fed up with her that I knew nothing more could be said. Glancing down at my arm, I saw my watch almost at 1 p.m. My lunch break had been completely wasted by this nonsense. "Karen, are you done now?" I asked. "What, Lily? What did you say?" she replied, in that sickeningly sweet tone. Did she really think I'd just given because of her fake sweetness? That I would never live up to her expectations? It was infuriating. "I'm hanging up now. I have another meeting in a few minutes. I need to go over some documents," I said. As I began to pull the phone away from my ear, Karen kept shouting, Wait, Lily, hey, Lily, say something." Her voice was getting more frantic, but I couldn't take it anymore. I heard her blaming Ethan for everything that went wrong, as usual. I didn't need to listen to that any longer. I tapped the end call button and blocked her number without a second thought. Later, Ethan contacted me with that same persistence. Seeing it as a good opportunity, I asked my lawyer to handle the alimony case. His family didn't seem to have strong legal support because they paid the alimony in a lump sum almost immediately. It looked like Thomas and Karen had advanced the money for him. This only made them more upset with Ethan. They were constantly telling him to find a job, but he was too fed up with it all. The former elite seemed to have fallen hard. It wasn't long before Ethan had to move back to his parents' house because he couldn't even afford rent. Now, he was using their pension and retirement savings, blaming his parents for the divorce while they, in turn, blamed him for everything. They couldn't reflect on their actions, and the whole situation was a mess. They were even considering applying for welfare soon. I just hope the government can help them see the consequences of their selfishness. As for me, my proposal at the business trip was accepted, and I landed a major contract. I got promoted again with a higher salary, and I'm now living a fulfilling and successful life. No more toxic in-laws, no more being financially burdened by a family member. If I ever get married again in the future, I'll definitely do a background check and avoid any man who has a mom like Karen or a family like Ethan's.